What do all dictators want? To brutally dominate their people and to live forever. Lots of people have accomplished the former, not so many the latter. The closest candidate we have right now resides in the great state of North Korea, where an evil dynasty is building and, at least at the moment, shows no signs of slowing down. I hate to admit this, but every once in a great while, I miss the tweets of our former president. North Korea's rocket man, Kim III, is following in the footsteps of his father and his grandfather before him in maintaining control of his population through a combination of brutalizing them and whipping them into a frenzied state of forced adoration for their beloved leader. In doing so, he's maintaining what is so far a 74-year reign of terror that, by the definition mentioned previously, probably makes him the greatest dictator of our time. Well, let's start at the beginning. In 1948, Kim I rose to power, propped up by the then Soviet Union. He spent the next 46 years first creating and then imposing a cult of personality unrivaled in the modern era. One thing that dictators have learned over the years, it's very difficult to be a successful dictator if you're just a regular guy. Much better if you're a god, or at least a demigod, because once you remove yourself from the inconvenient bonds of mortality, your word becomes law the second those words leave your mouth. It becomes, using the terminology of the Catholics, the equivalent of a mortal sin to do anything that goes against the wishes of your leader. Kim I was so successful in indoctrinating his people into the cult of his own superiority and immortality that in 1998, 4 years after his death, he was proclaimed the eternal leader of North Korea. Yes, you heard that right. He was recognized as the eternal leader after he was dead. As you can tell, adherence to logical principles is definitely not a key part of the dictator's playbook. Anyway, replacing the apparently undead Kim I comes Kim II and his own brand of God complex. He has himself proclaimed as dear leader to supplement his dad's title as great leader, thinking, I guess, that being both dear and great would be a winning combination for the Kims. The timing of his ascension was actually quite bad for Kim II because he comes to power just as the independent and self-reliant North Korean economy collapses, roughly in unison with the collapse of the Soviet Union, which had been propping it up for years. Not to worry, Kim II, though being, as one scholar described it, almost comically incompetent in matters of economic management, manages to cling to power through the tried and true tactics of forced adulation and imitation. He also becomes perhaps the world's best forger of $100 bills and manages to stay afloat, at least partially, due to the success of the US dollar. No contradictions there, though. Upon his death in 2011, you guessed it, he's declared eternal chairman, which brings us to the man of the hour, Kim III, and yet another cult of, undoubtedly, eternal personality. In addition to some, slightly less grandiose claims about the achievements of the Kim clan, Kim III really triples down in the propaganda war, having himself declared a great person born in heaven, and having the Workers' Party declare, "We vow with bleeding tears to call Kim Jong-un our supreme commander." I guess regular tears just don't show enough commitment. Anyway, Kim III is following more or less the same playbook as Kims 1 and 2, with his own personal touches. He apparently loves Disney and Western movies, particularly Rocky, and indications are his propaganda prowess is the best of the three Kims, as is his level of pettiness in micromanaging the lives of his unfortunate subjects. Having been the beneficiary of China's socialism with Chinese characteristics, also called capitalism, he is reportedly toying with some free market reforms on a small scale. Well, it wouldn't be the first time. Socialists used closet capitalism to keep their bankrupt ideology afloat. In that vein, he's instituted something called a socialist corporate responsibility management system, the details of which are every bit as ridiculous as the name. Leave it to the communists to come up with a corporate initiative even more inane than the ones corporate America is spewing these days, which I sometimes think should be called capitalism with American characteristics. Sound familiar? Anyway, Kim III is already working on becoming eternal by lining up his kids for ascension to the communist throne. Unfortunately, somehow I think this insanity is always worse for the children. He's very likely lining them up for some of the downsides of totalitarian succession as well. In putting together what is so far a 3-generation dynasty, the Kims are as close to immortal dictators as we have had in recent memory. Now, this does bring up the question of who is actually the greatest, Kim the first, the second, or the third, but since they're all eternal anyway, I guess it's kind of a moot point.